On New Year's Day 2024, a 7.5 magnitude earthquake ripped through Japan's western coast. Over 200 people died. Thousands lost power and clean water for weeks. But here's what nobody's talking about. A man who lived 5,000 years ago described this exact moment. Not just the earthquake, the entire pattern. Right now, 31% of Americans never attend church. That's more than those who attend every week. In 2024 alone, we've seen over 400 deaths from wildfires in Chile, 225 from Hurricane Helene, and catastrophic floods across Spain, killing 224 people. Scientists just used CRISPR technology to permanently edit human DNA, switching genes on and off like light switches. His name was Enoch. He walked with God and never died. And he saw 7 specific events that would signal the end. 4 have already happened this year. The 7th one? It reveals exactly when this all ends. And you need to hear it before we're out of time. In the oldest texts we have, Enoch wrote about a moment he called the arrival. He saw the heavens open and a figure descending, but not alone. He described thousands upon thousands of holy ones riding alongside him. Warriors of light, an army ready for judgment. 2,000 years later, a man named Jude quoted Enoch's exact words in the New Testament. "Behold, he comes with 10,000 of his saints to execute judgment." The early church fathers knew these writings. They believed them. Then suddenly, Enoch's book vanished from most Bibles, removed, hidden. Why? Because what he described is too specific, too clear. Look at what's happening right now. In 2024, the world recorded 61 active armed conflicts, the highest number in over 70 years. The Peace Research Institute Oslo confirmed it. 61 wars happening simultaneously across 36 countries. Over 233,000 people died in these conflicts last year alone. Ukraine saw 76,000 deaths. Gaza, 26,000. Sudan's civil war killed another 20,000. This isn't normal. This is escalation. The kind Jesus warned about when he said, "You'll hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation." Natural disasters are intensifying at rates that defy historical averages. Japan's 7.5 earthquake on New Year's Day. Spain's catastrophic floods that killed 224 people in October. Chile's wildfires consuming over 400 lives in February. Hurricane Helene's 225 deaths across the southeastern United States. The earth itself is shaking, groaning, like something's about to break through. Enoch saw armies in the sky. We see armies on every continent. He saw judgment coming with holy ones. We see the stage being set for exactly that kind of arrival. Prophecy 2. The Great Departure. Enoch saw something that should terrify every believer. He wrote about a generation where hearts would turn cold, where wisdom would be rejected, where even those who once followed God would drift away into darkness. He called it the Great Departure. 2,000 years later, the Apostle Paul warned about the same event. He said the day of Christ's return wouldn't come until there was a massive falling away first. A rebellion so large it would mark the final generation. Look at what just happened in America. Between 2015 and 2025, religiosity dropped 17 percentage points. That's not a slow decline. That's a collapse. Gallup researchers called it one of the largest drops in religiosity of any country in the world over a 10-year period, ever recorded. Right now, only 49% of Americans say religion is important in their daily lives. In 2015, that number was 66%. We crossed below 50% for the first time in American history. Between 2007 and 2024, the Christian share of America's adult population fell from 78% to 62%. That's 16 percentage points in just 17 years. But here's the part they buried. 27% of people raised Christian no longer identify as Christian. More than 1 in 4 walked away. Europe is worse. Between 2010 and 2020, 4 countries lost their Christian majorities entirely: the United Kingdom, Australia, France, Uruguay. In France, only 46% identify as Christian. In the UK, it's 49%. These are the countries that built cathedrals and sent missionaries. Now their churches are museums, concert halls, nightclubs. After a deconsecrated church in Naples became a Halloween party venue with half-dressed performers on the altar, the Pope begged church leaders to at least use empty buildings to serve the poor, because there's no one left to worship in them. Enoch saw hearts growing cold. Paul warned about rebellion against God. And now, in real time, we're watching the largest abandonment of faith in recorded history. In Enoch's writings, there's a chapter that reads like science fiction. He describes fallen angels called the Watchers, who descended to earth and broke a sacred boundary. They taught humanity secrets that were never meant to be known: metalworking, cosmetics, astrology, enchantments. The knowledge led to violence, vanity, corruption so deep that God had to wipe the earth clean with a flood. That same forbidden knowledge is resurfacing right now. And this time, we're not just making swords. We're rewriting the code of life itself. In November 2024, scientists permanently switched off a gene in 15 people's livers using CRISPR technology. They didn't just edit DNA. They permanently deleted sections of genetic code. The FDA approved this procedure. They're editing human embryos, creating designer babies, changing what it means to be human at the molecular level. The artificial intelligence explosion in 2024 went beyond anything experts predicted. Google released Gemini 2.0, an AI model designed for what they call the agentic era. AI that doesn't just respond. AI that acts independently, makes decisions, executes plans without human oversight. OpenAI's GPT-4o now combines text, vision, and audio processing in a single system. It sees, it hears, it speaks. But even that's not the most disturbing development. In December 2024, Google unveiled Willow, a quantum computing chip that performed a calculation in under 5 minutes that would take the world's fastest supercomputer 10 septillion years to complete. 10 septillion. That's a 1 with 25 zeros. Quantum computers operate according to quantum physics, tapping into realities most scientists don't fully understand. Google's CEO admitted they're building technology where they don't even know how it works. We're opening doors we can't close, unlocking powers we can't control. Enoch saw the Watchers teach humanity knowledge that led to the Nephilim, giants, hybrids, abominations that corrupted the entire gene pool. Jesus warned that the last days would be exactly like the days of Noah: violence, corruption, and forbidden knowledge being unleashed. In Noah's time, that knowledge destroyed the world. This time, we have the tools to destroy the very definition of what it means to be human. Enoch wrote about 2 judgments, one by water, already completed in Noah's flood, the second still coming. This time, by fire. He saw the same pattern that destroyed the world once would return. Only this time, there would be no ark. In Noah's day, people ignored every warning. They ate, drank, married, and built their lives as if nothing would change. Then, the skies split open. Within 40 days, the highest mountains on Earth were underwater. Today, we're not drowning. We're burning. In 2024, wildfires in the United States consumed 8.9 million acres, 27% above the 10-year average. Oregon experienced its most severe wildfire season ever recorded, with 1.4 million acres burned. Canada saw its highest disaster losses in history, $10 billion in total losses. Chile suffered catastrophic wildfires in February that killed 400 people. The Pantanal wetlands in Brazil saw wildfire activity increase by 980% compared to the previous year. The Amazon started burning earlier than ever recorded. Fire carbon emissions globally reached 2.4 petagrams in the 2023-2024 season, 16% above average. But while some regions burn, others drown. Spain's floods in October killed 224 people. In Chad, flooding killed 576 people. Niger's floods claimed 396 lives. Brazil's extreme rainfall created some of the worst flooding in decades. $7 billion in damage. At least 1,500 people died from extreme weather events in 2024. Floods alone impacted 43 million people globally. Munich Re confirmed 2024 produced $140 billion in insured losses. The earth is shaking, burning, drowning. Peter warned us. The world that was destroyed by water is now reserved for fire. The elements will melt with intense heat. Enoch saw something that gives hope in the middle of chaos. He wrote about a figure he called the Elect One, a chosen ruler who would sit on the throne of glory and judge the works of humanity. Under his reign, righteousness would dwell on earth, and sin would no longer exist. 2,000 years later, John saw the same vision. He described heaven opening and a rider on a white horse. His name was Faithful and True. On his robe was written King of Kings and Lord of Lords. Right now, the world is crying out for exactly that kind of leader. 2024 was the year incumbent governments fell worldwide. Over 60 countries held elections representing 60% of global GDP. And in nearly every case, voters rejected the leaders already in power. The United States ousted its incumbent party. The United Kingdom's Conservative Party suffered its worst defeat in over a decade. South Africa's ANC lost its parliamentary majority for the first time since apartheid ended. Germany's coalition government collapsed completely. Pew Research found that across 31 nations surveyed in 2024, 54% of adults were dissatisfied with how democracy is working in their country. People don't trust their leaders anymore. The world is experiencing what researchers call political fragility. Economic hardship, high inflation, and currency depreciation have fueled widespread anger. Coalition governments are rising because traditional parties can't win majorities anymore, but these coalitions struggle to govern cohesively. In South Korea, both the president and acting president faced impeachment proceedings. Syria's government collapsed unexpectedly after decades of Assad's rule. The thrones of men are crumbling. Leaders rise and fall. Promises break. Systems fail. And humanity keeps searching for someone who can actually bring order from chaos. Enoch saw that ruler coming, not another politician. A king whose government would never end, whose reign would bring true peace. Could it be that the collapse of earthly kingdoms is preparing the way for the one eternal kingdom? Enoch saw something beautiful hidden in the darkness. He wrote about the righteous who would suffer in silence, overlooked, mocked, persecuted. But he promised their names were written before God, and one day the light of righteousness would shine upon them. Right now, across the globe, there are believers living exactly this prophecy. In 2024, more than 380 million Christians faced significant persecution and discrimination worldwide. That's 1 in 7 Christians globally. The number rose by 15 million from the previous year. An estimated 4,476 Christians were killed for their faith in 2024. Nigeria alone accounted for nearly 70% of those deaths, with 3,100 Christian martyrs. 8 of the top 10 deadliest places for Christians are in sub-Saharan Africa. Attacks on churches, Christian schools, and hospitals increased sevenfold from 2,110 to 14 to 766 in a single year. Christians forced from their homes more than doubled, from 124,310 to 278,716. In India, at least 1,629 believers were detained and over 500 were sentenced to prison. Christian deaths in India rose ninefold, from 17 to 160 in just 1 year. China closed thousands of churches. North Korea has been ranked as having one of the highest rates of persecution since tracking began in 1983. Of 34.5 million displaced people across sub-Saharan Africa, around 16.2 million are Christians. Right now, underground churches are meeting in secret. Believers are hiding Bibles in walls. Parents are teaching their children to worship in whispers. Pastors are being imprisoned for preaching. And entire congregations are being erased. These are Enoch's hidden ones, the righteous suffering in secret. Their names may not be in headlines, but they're written in heaven's book. And Enoch promised their unveiling is coming, a day when those who suffered in darkness will shine like stars. This is the one Enoch saw that changes everything. He wrote about the 8th week, a time when righteousness would return and a sword would be given to execute judgment. But then he added something chilling. The works of sin shall perish from the earth, and all creation shall be cleansed with fire. Not symbolic fire, literal purification. A cosmic reset that would remake reality itself. 2,000 years later, Peter confirmed it. The heavens and earth we see now are reserved for fire. The elements will melt with intense heat. Everything will be dissolved. And from the ashes, God will create something new. The signs of that fire are already appearing. In May 2024, Earth experienced the most intense geomagnetic storm in 2 decades, multiple solar flares, and at least 7 coronal mass ejections stormed toward Earth at speeds up to 3 million miles per hour. The storm reached G5 classification. One of those flares peaked at X5.8, among the most powerful classifications. Days later, an X8.7 flare erupted, the largest of solar cycle 25. Another massive storm hit in October 2024. Just days ago, on December 3rd, another G3 strong geomagnetic storm struck from an X1.9 flare. The sun is awakening, and it's not alone. In 2024, 73 volcanoes erupted across the globe from 65 different volcanic systems. 31 of those were new eruptions. While scientists claim volcanic activity hasn't increased, they admit as glaciers melt from climate change, the pressure on Earth's crust decreases, allowing magma to flow more easily to the surface. More ice melt means more eruptions ahead. Fire from above, fire from below. Peter saw it, the elements melting, the heavens passing away with a roar. Enoch saw all creation cleansed by fire, not to destroy you but to purify everything, to burn away corruption and create new heavens and a new earth where righteousness dwells forever. But here's what nobody's telling you. According to the timeline in Enoch's prophecies, if the patterns hold, if the 8th week follows the 7th as described, we're not looking at centuries.